creating the greatest version of yourself. Hi, welcome back, my friend. Hope you're having a great day. As usual, let's get straight into it. Now, creating the greatest version of yourself. This is a little process. I wrote about it in my blog. I wrote about it here and there a couple of times on my Instagram, whatever. I made a video about it like a year ago. And now I'm going to make another one. A more updated one. Now that I'm here. But how to create the greatest version of yourself. Now, if you're in a slump, you got to understand that you're probably in the best place possible. Because if you're like in a slump, all you got to do is just the opposite. And you'll be your greatest self. No, but this is what I did, okay? This is the process that I did. I was a little down in the dumps. And, you know, I knew things spiritually. And for me to really like, instead of just like reading books and having knowledge, like to have the wisdom of whatever spiritual stuff I was reading, I had to like bring these things into my reality. And this is kind of how I did it. Creating your best self is like one of the best ways to prove that spirituality is real. I mean, whatever you want to call it, all right? You can call it creative thinking. You can call it positive thinking, constructive thinking. I mean, it is what it is. But so what I did was, I had to go into my mind, my son. I had to ask myself, what is the greatest version of Ches? And, you know, your imagination, you're going to start creating your imagination. And, you know, at first I saw, you know, me and my girlfriend, we discussed things about like the house we want to live in. You know, we look at it. There's like certain houses that we look at that, you know, they're implanted in my subconscious mind. So when I was imagining it, like I could see it. Sometimes we discuss the cars we want to drive, whatever. So, you know, within this vision, if you want to call it like manifestation, I don't call it manifestation. It's just like, you're just imagining things, okay? So, you know, in my mind, I can see these things. Like I can see almost like a POV, first person player. Like I can see me moving about the house, playing with my kids, my girlfriend cooking dinner. Like I had the entire setting. The car that I was driving, I didn't see this making videos or whatever. Like at that time, I think I was doing TikTok, but it wasn't in my head yet. But I could only see me going about my day, like playing with my kids, dropping them off to school, the conversations I had at the dinner table with my family, like all of that. I could map all of that out. And then one of the times I was kind of just sitting and thinking, my intuition in my mind just screamed at me, said, look directly at yourself. And so I did. Like in my imagination, I saw myself. Instead of like seeing my hands like at a first person, like me driving the car, me hugging my girlfriend, I saw me. Like I stepped outside of me and I was like looking above and I could see me. And when I saw me, I saw that I was, at the time when I was doing this, I was like 210 pounds. I was like fat and depressed, dude. And when I seen it, I was skinnier. I was super stringy, like almost like Bruce Lee look. And I was ripped. My hair was a little longer. I had a mustache. Not really a mustache. Like that one was kind of fading in and out. But in one of my imaginings, he had a mustache. He was wearing his short shorts. He's wearing these little shoes that kind of made him feel light on his feet. And like I kept focusing on that chest. And I could see it. Like he kind of looked like Bruce Lee, but dark with my tattoos. And it was clear. I was like, oh, so he's kind of more extremely athletic, a little more skinnier. And then from there, I could kind of see like, oh, he doesn't eat too much. He jump ropes and he shadow boxes a lot. Those were the two things that like glared out at me. I could see myself doing that, like vividly. And then the next thing, like I'm just picturing myself like how good it feels to be like skinny like that and like to be that chest, to be in that fight ready mode again. And then my intuition just told me, just create that. And that's what I did. Now you gotta understand this. A lot of times you have these desires. I get plagued by it every day. It's not supposed to happen this way. But of course, we live in a physical world and you want these things. You want the car, the house, the money. You want the body. When you're envisioning these things, okay? Stick with me now. When you're looking at this vision in your mind of your greatest self, what is the one direct thing that's common in every one of your imaginings. It's you. So when you look at you, everything can change, dude. Like, Tesla is probably like the end thing now, and Lambo's 10 years from now, like, we don't know what kind of electric cars, we don't know how much bigger the houses are gonna get. I don't know how much more money I'm gonna be piling up. I don't know. But the one common thing in each of my visions is me. So when you come back from like you sitting down just thinking about your greatest self, come back to this reality and just create that person that you see. That person in your vision dresses a certain way. They eat certain foods. They kind of speak a different way. They write different things. In this vision that you see at your highest self, when you're done with your little imagination station, when you open your eyes back to reality, be that person now. And understand, when you bring that person from up there, down here, you're gonna start treating everything differently. And like your surroundings are gonna start changing. Dude, like when I figured this out and I started to walk it, we were in like a 3-bedroom, like we weren't in the greatest of places. I didn't have these lion heads. Look at this little bush thing. I don't know what kind of this, my girlfriend put this here, but it's like such a Zen thing. These are things that I could see in my mind. Like in my big ass mansion, I had like, my daughter was getting into line dancing. Somehow like everything kind of just slowly works its way out. And understand that the surroundings, it's gonna take time. I can't just like poof out everything in my surroundings, but I can bring this Ches from up there down here. And slowly, I had to understand the Ches in that vision, he spends his money differently. The Ches in that vision, he eats differently. The Ches in that vision, he speaks differently. The Ches that was there, fat and depressed, wasn't sitting down talking like this. But the Ches in my vision was sitting down in a little Zen place by his pool, making videos, just speaking the wisdom that he learned from his life. And that's what I did. Even though the surroundings weren't what I imagined, all I did was I brought that Ches here. I brought that feeling, and slowly by slowly, day by day, it slowly got shaped out. Sometimes I get lost in the sauce and like I want things to come quicker, but when I sit down and I sit with this great spirit, it kind of just reminds me of like how far my family came, and it makes me grateful again. My son is over here standing in the sun singing, and it's like this is the only way that you can do it. You know, you're gonna work extremely hard, and things are not always gonna be perfect. And understand, if you just live from that higher place, you kind of visualize every morning for at least like 5 minutes, like that greatest version of you. And when you open your eyes, you bring that person here, you understand like whatever happens day to day, that higher version of you deals with it differently. Okay, this is one that I kind of have to come up in my head. Okay, let's say you have $1 billion in the bank, in a bank account. Okay, like, and there's no strings attached to it. You earn this $1 billion outright, like it's yours. You paid all the taxes on it. Like, you know, you have this $1 billion in your bank account. Okay, now you're in the ghettos. Okay, and I come up to you, and you're like so happy and jolly. You're just like, I'd be like, oh, how come you're so happy and jolly? And you're like, oh, I'm a billionaire, that's why. In my perspective, I would be like, how are you a billionaire and how are you this happy? Like, you're lying, dude. You're in the ghetto. But you and you alone know within your mind that you got $1 billion in your bank account. When I tell you to bring that greatest version of you down here, that's essentially what you're doing. You have this greater vision, this best version of you, and you're being it day to day. Even though your surroundings are not what you would think they would be, you're just being you. And that's the feeling you're trying to get, dude. You're just trying to get the feeling. Same thing, like you're a billionaire, but you're in the ghetto. Who cares? You know you got the money in the bank. So like nothing can take away that feeling. And this is the hardest part. Some people would come up to me, oh my God, Ches, you're so skinny. No one ever asked how I feel. No one ever asked, like, how are my interactions with my kids now? No one ever asked, like, how has me becoming skinny enhanced my mood? No one ever asked. But through like the thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on my YouTube, obviously getting skinny was like the best thing I ever did. And that's what you're trying to do. You know, a lot of people are going to see the changes that you're making and they're going to be like, some people are going to resent it. Same thing, when I got extremely skinny, like people are like, dude, I don't like the way you look. I like it when you're bulky. But no one ever thought like how I felt on the inside. In my heart, I had my $1 billion in the bank. It didn't matter what anybody said, like where I was my greatest me at that moment. Okay? Now the deeper side of things, you know, me kind of understanding spirit, not understanding, but studying and just observing my life. All humans, they only have 3 main goals in life. If you want to know what your purpose is, this is every human being's purpose in life, okay? No, I don't care where you live. 3 main goals. It's gonna go in layers, okay? The first goal of every human being is to be and become their greatest versions of themselves. Not like a copycat. There's a clip of me like kind of doing like this kind of like Bruce Lee flex, whatever. It's almost like a copycat, but the way I got there was totally based on my imagination. Like in my vision, I saw myself jumping rope, working out in this park, and like just shadowboxing. And from pure imagination, no one helped me. Just from my mind and like me communicating with this thing called God, I just asked, what is the greatest chess doing? And from pure imagination, I created that. This is gonna be the first goal of every human being. And sometimes like, because they're so attached to the body and like just trying to feed the body with desires, food, money, you know, a lot of people miss this one. I do too, moment to moment, and it is what it is. But this is the first goal, is to be and become the greatest version of yourself that you can think of in your mind with no outside stimulus, just from within you. What is the greatest version that I can be? That's goal number 1. Goal number 2, for every human being, is to have an authentic and like real conscious experience of this thing called God. No matter what you do, whether you're trying to lose weight, make more money, have more loving relationships, get married, all what you're trying to do, okay? Those are all just little stems off of you trying to experience God. That's it. That's it. Just think about it. You having more money, you would be on a beach, hanging out, sipping a martini. That's you having an experience of God. Just enjoying the fruits of your labor within this nice, beautiful place. You're trying to have a very authentic and conscious knowing that you've experienced God. That's goal number 2, okay? Goal number 1 is become your greatest self. Goal number 2 is have a conscious experience of God. Even taking drugs, dude. When you're like taking drugs, like smoking weed, whatever, getting drunk, and like, you know, you're at a party or vibing out, you're just trying to experience, you're trying to get the feeling. Okay? Now, number 3. The greatest goal. This is the greatest goal of all. The third goal for every human being is for you to consciously know that you are expressing the highest form of love. Okay? Everything that you're doing. If like, I can guarantee, if you're trying to chase money, okay? A lot of, you know, because I hang out with a lot of parents, whatever, and I'm a parent myself, so, you know, you would like to accumulate all this money so you can give it to your loved ones, so you can put your loved ones in a better position. In your perspective, that is you expressing the highest form of love. This is the ultimate goal for every human being. You trying to get famous, trying to be a famous singer, have all these people like adore you. That is you trying to express the highest form of love. That's just your perspective. So that's the goal of every human being. The first goal is to become your greatest self. The second goal is to have a conscious experience, to know, not have any outside source tell you, but to know within your heart that you experience this thing called God. And the highest goal of all is to express, know that you're expressing this highest form of love. Now understand, within this universe, everything is connected. I'm gonna break it down like this. When you become your greatest self from pure imagination, okay? When you just sit in your imagination and you ask God, what does the greatest version of me look like? What is she doing? What is he doing? How are they moving? when you create that here on this physical realm, that is you essentially experiencing God. Because if you just go in your imagination, you ask God, what does my greatest self look like? And you start taking the steps here to create it, that's you having a conscious experience of God. And understand this, when you are your greatest self, my son, when you are your greatest self, having a conscious experience of God, you in turn are expressing your highest form of love. Understand, like the Ches that I knew before, saying these things is like out of this world, but I've somewhat got myself to a point where I am my greatest self. The surroundings don't even matter. Deep within my heart, I know like this is like the greatest version of me, and I can still build it up. But at this very moment, this is me. Look, my son right there. This is me experiencing, being, and becoming my greatest self. And at the same time, as I'm speaking these videos, dude, I don't know where these words are coming from. So this is me having a conscious experience of this thing that I call God. Because these words are just flying out of nowhere. I'm just in this flow, and I'm just kind of just being here in this moment with you making this video while my son is in his underwear over here. And 3, instead of me showing you violence with how to shadow box, how to like choke a guy out, like the greatest Ches only pushes out positivity. And me creating this video is me having this conscious experience of expressing the highest form of love that I know, is just creating my best self, taking all the wisdom from that process and sharing it through words. This is me just hitting all 3 goals at one time. And this is something I want to share with you, because there was a time, dude, I was lost, man. And of course, day to day, I do slip back into, you can say, the ego, my body. I do crave like just material things. Of course, like, you know, it's nice to have money. It's nice to eat ice cream. It's nice to like hug a loved one. You know, like to be spiritual doesn't mean you cut yourself off from your body. And your greatest self understands this. Your greatest self has both inner knowing of the highest love that you have, along with material possessions. When you put 2 and 2 together, you're going to be an unstoppable force that uses material things for good. And that's how you become your greatest self. Every morning when you wake up, just spend 5 minutes just thinking about what is the greatest you doing. Then once you open your eyes to the reality that you're in, do those things. And fitness and diet is the one direct thing that you can control. I couldn't control getting these lion heads. Somehow through the law of attraction, these things just, I was given the opportunity to bring them home. But all I was doing was just being this martial arts Ches. That's all I was doing. Just these opportunities kind of fall in my lap. And you know, when I start going negative, these opportunities stop. But because like I kind of had an experience of how these things work, I can kind of like steamroll it back again. It's easy for me to like go in and out, in and out, in and out. But that's all you got to do is just go within your imagination. Ask God. Don't ask anybody else. I mean, if you want to ask like Jesus, whatever. But if I were you, I would just go straight to the source. Dude. Just ask God. Ask God, what is the greatest version of myself doing? Once you kind of get the picture, bring that person here. Just do that. And it wouldn't even matter what's in your reality. Because you know, day to day, moment to moment, you are just being that person that you were destined to be, alright? And it's going to be a somewhat fulfilling life. You're going to be moving differently. You're going to be speaking differently. You're going to be thinking differently. And there could be a little bit of struggle between the old you and the you that you're trying to be, but that's the journey. And this is you just having a conscious experience of this thing called God and love and just being your best self. And it's a great journey. And it's one that I enjoyed sharing with all of you. You guys see from the TikTok to the YouTube, it's still growing, it's still going. Line dancing now. My son is getting older. I mean, it is what it is, man. And just always remember, train hard and be kind. Hi!